Global fertilizer prices are expected to remain high for the rest of 2022, and Africa will likely feel the pinch even more than many regions earlier. Adam Szoke, sales manager for international markets at Rokosan Limited, spoke to CNBC Africa to make a sense of all these numbers.
The main problem currently is the problem in the logistical chains in terms of production and supplying natural gas, which is an important raw material for production of chemical fertilizers. Currently, we can see the spike in prices not only in Africa, but also in Europe. And globally, we are speaking about increases of more than 300%. If we compare the prices of urea just in past months, we can see that it's becoming a very expensive commodity, and it's increasing the shortage of the materials for the farmers. On the same time, when we look at the problems in the logistical chains, like problem with the shipping of the fertilizers, this is increasing the pressure on the farmers, who are then very much increasing their either expenses, or they are in result required to use less fertilizer, which is not very optimal situation for the farmers in Africa.
300% increase you're mentioning is really drastic, but if you could go a little bit further and give us an understanding of specific fertilizers. What is the situation at the moment? When you talk about DAP, urea, NPK, some of the most popular fertilizers used across Africa and other countries.
Usually the urea is the most used fertilizers across the farmers in Africa. This fertilizer is mostly supplied from countries which produce natural gas, such as Russia, but also some of the Europeans and Middle East companies. As I mentioned earlier, the problem with the natural gas supply is increasing the prices, and this is connected to production of other commodities. For example, with NPK fertilizers, the problem with the supplying of the chemicals needed for such production is increasing also the pressure on the producers to increase their prices. And by increasing one component in the whole circle is going to change the situation for the whole industry. If we are going to increase the prices of the urea and NPK and DAP, we are increasing the expenses of farmers who are producing, for example, animal feed. And in the end, it's going to influence the whole circle, because the meat is going to be more expensive, the food in stores is going to be expensive, which is in turn leaving farmers with less money to purchase commodities for the next season. The situation currently is very drastic, because it's also connected to the COVID measures around the world. And there is a labor shortages in many ports, which are making the shipment of fertilizer very difficult to be cleared by customs. And we heard about situation that some of the fertilizers are stuck in ports of Dar es Salaam and Mombasa for more than 2 months, because there is a shortage of labor, complications with the documents, and the COVID situation is making everything much more difficult. All of these factors are making pressure on the prices of DAP, urea, and NPK fertilizers, but also on the prices of specialty fertilizers such as liquid organic fertilizers and solid fertilizers.
Rokosan, your company is one of the biggest players in this market. Give us an example of what's going on, how the natural gas crisis is affecting your production at the moment.
Thankfully, Rokosan is a producer of organic fertilizer which do not rely that much on natural gas. We rely mostly on animal origin waste, such as poultry feathers, So the current situation is not increasing our expenses that much. However, of course, some of the commodities we use in our production are connected to the natural gas industry. But when we compare the increase of the prices of urea, which was 300% in last month, other fertilizers increased their price just by maybe 25%. This is a very important moment because thanks to using alternative technologies, African countries can become more reliant on traditional fertilization methods. And actually, this is showing the actual trend globally that organic farming is on rise. We can offer a very good solution for the fertilizer prices skyrocketing, but also increasing the yields.
So one organization is predicting that fertilizer demand in sub-Saharan Africa could fall 30% in 2022. Is there so much that African countries can do about this?
So actually, what can be done is to maybe implement more technologies which are less reliant on NPK fertilizers, maybe to increase their own capabilities of production of fertilizers, because African countries has a huge potential for production of their own fertilizers. So the main idea is that governments of African countries should subsidize the local producers, and also to improve the investment opportunities of foreign investors in African countries to build their factory inside of the country. Because by importing the less fertilizer, countries will be less influenced by the global changes in logistical chains. We can see the situation, for example, in Rwanda, which doesn't have any fertilizer plant and solely rely on the import of the fertilizers from abroad. This is very hard situation for a landlocked country which rely on Dar es Salaam port and Mombasa port. And if those countries would have their own productions of fertilizers, it would help us to withstand such difficult times in global economy.